What's up, my fellow actors? Kurt Yu here from actingcareercenter.com. We're doing a video from inside my trailer here on set. I haven't made a video in a few weeks, partially because I have been working a lot, and another reason is I've been traveling a little bit, but here we are. We're doing another video finally. In this video, I'm going to be answering some of the questions that you guys posted in the comments of my prior two videos about Black Widow. We'll get to that in a second, but first, if this is your first time watching one of my videos, first of all, welcome. Second of all, if you are interested in pursuing an acting career, then you probably know that you need to learn how to audition and how to audition well. Well, I've actually created a free 10-step audition preparation guide that can help you improve your auditions, and if you want to download that free audition guide, you can get it by going to that link right up there in the corner. I call it my audition cheat sheet, and it's my actual 10-step audition preparation process that I personally use that's helped me book over 50 movies and television shows. So if you want to incorporate that into your own audition process, then you can go ahead and download it from that link up in the corner. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about these questions that I got in my prior two videos. My last two YouTube videos were about the movie Black Widow that I got the incredible opportunity to work on. And the first video was me explaining my experience working on the movie, traveling to London, and everything that I got to do for the movie. The second video was an interview with Kate Shortland, the director of Black Widow. Now, in those two videos, I got a lot of great feedback in the comments, so thank you to all of you who commented, but I also got a bunch of questions, and there were quite a few questions that were repeated a lot. So I wanted to take this video as a chance to address some of those questions that came up multiple times, because I think a lot of people apparently wanted to know the same thing. Okay, now let's get to these questions. Number one, the first question is, and I think this was the question that came up the most, was how much did they pay you to be in this movie? So let's take a step back really quick and just explain how the pay structure works here. Most major movies and TV shows here in the U.S. are under a SAG-AFTRA contract, and SAG-AFTRA is the major actors union for film and television performers here in the U.S. If you don't know what SAG-AFTRA is, you want to understand a little bit about what it is and how to join the union and all of that, I have a separate video about that. I'll put that down in the description below. But once you understand that most movies and shows are under a SAG-AFTRA contract, and for the most part, there are pre-negotiated rates that is called SAG-AFTRA scale, and these are the base minimum rates that actors must be paid to appear in any of these movies or shows. So all of my past movies and TV shows that I've worked on, if you go to my IMDb, you can see all the movies and shows that I've worked on. The majority of them I've been paid at a SAG-AFTRA scale rate, and that's no different for Black Widow. So because Black Widow is under a SAG-AFTRA contract, my pay rate is the same as the previous movies and shows that I've worked on, partially because I've been small supporting characters for a lot of the projects that I've worked on. So if you are a major role, a bigger role, then you obviously negotiate higher pay rates. But a lot of the smaller supporting characters will have a specific base pay. There have been times where I have been able to negotiate higher rates, but for the most part, I've been paid at SAG-AFTRA scale. A lot of people think that because it's a Marvel movie, yeah, Marvel is huge and they have a lot of money, then they must pay more than other projects. But that's not necessarily true. In fact, I was paid the same base rate. And the base rate is roughly, right now, roughly $1,000 per day that you work on the production. So for instance, this production I'm working on right now, I'm being paid the same SAG-AFTRA scale rate as the Black Widow movie, as my previous movies that I've worked on and shows that I've worked on. Another question that came up a lot is, did they pay for my travel, my plane ticket, my hotel for when I went to London? And the answer is yes. Marvel, or more specifically Disney, because Disney owns Marvel, Disney was able to pay for the travel, meaning the plane ticket and the hotel for both myself and the 5 other actors that were hired to be the Ross agents from Atlanta to travel to London and then stay there for 2.5 weeks and then come back to Atlanta. I want to explain really quick that this doesn't happen for every movie, and it doesn't happen for every role in every movie. It really depends on the project and the budget that that project has. For Black Widow, they happen to have the budget. They happen to have the room within their budget to pay for the travel and the hotel for us, but that it really is movie dependent or project dependent. Some projects have it within their budget and some projects don't. For other projects, it may be role dependent. So they may have the budget to travel for some roles, but then for other roles, they may not have it within their budget to pay for the travel and the hotel. This is why it's so beneficial for a lot of actors to live in a high production market, such as Los Angeles or New York or Atlanta, where I live, or London in the UK, or I'm sure many other cities around the world that have a lot of film and television production. Because when you are in a city that has a lot of film and television production, then when a project does come along that doesn't have the budget to pay for the flight and the hotel for actors, that means they would rather hire actors that are local. This show that I'm working on right now, for instance, I was hired because I'm a local actor here in Atlanta, and the show films in Atlanta, and it saves them money to hire someone like me than to hire someone outside of the city or outside of the country, because they don't have the budget to fly someone in and put them up in a hotel, right? But there are some other actors here on the show that they did fly in from Los Angeles or fly in from New York because they have the budget for those characters, but not for my character. Hopefully that makes sense. It all depends on how the budget is structured for that particular project. Another question that I got a lot was, how did you get that audition? How did you get an audition for a Marvel movie? And this is not an easy question to answer, because I know a lot of people want me to just say, oh, well, I got it off this website. You just go to this website and you can get auditions for Marvel movies. That website, unfortunately, does not exist. You can't just go to a website and get auditions for Marvel movies. Here's how the film and television industry works. The vast majority of major movies and shows, their auditions are coming through talent agents. Yes, you can get some auditions for movies and shows off websites like Actors Access or Backstage here in the United States. I don't know what the websites are for other countries, but those sites do offer you some opportunities, but that might be like 1 or 2% of all of the auditions for major movies and shows. The other 98 to 99% of auditions for movies and shows are coming through talent agents. And I know the next question that people have is going to be, well, then how do I get a talent agent, right? But to answer the question of how do I get a talent agent, it's the same thing. You do have to do a lot of work in this career before you can get to the point where you're considered a professional actor. Getting a talent agent really is telling the world, hey, I want to be considered a professional actor. I want to get an agent to represent me to start working professionally. But I see a lot of people who are brand new, who have never done any acting in their lives, say, hey, I want to get an agent. I want to start auditioning for Marvel. The best example I can give is, imagine someone who says, hey, I want to play basketball in the NBA. I want to try out for an NBA team, but I've never played basketball before. I have no basketball experience. That sounds ridiculous, right? You would think that people would have to play basketball for a long time before they can get to the NBA. Well, you should look at acting as the same thing. If you want to act professionally, first you have to prove that you can act as an amateur. Just like as a basketball player, if you want to play professional basketball, first you have to prove that you can play at the amateur levels and not be paid yet and still play well before an NBA team is going to consider you. For acting, before an agent is going to consider you, before a casting director for a major movie or a show is going to consider you, first you have to show that you can hang at the amateur levels, that you can do projects that are unpaid, that's not going to give you an exposure, that are not going to be watched by a ton of people, but you have to be able to do it at those levels and show that you can do that before an agent is going to start looking at you. So I made another video in the past called 10 Ways to Get Acting Experience. I want you to watch that video and see what are the things that you can do to gain experience, to build up your resume, and to do all of these things so that an agent is going to consider you to sign with them. Because if you have absolutely no acting experience whatsoever, it's going to be very hard to get an agent, because this is such a competitive industry, probably the most competitive industry in the world. I've asked my agent this in the past. They've said that they get hundreds, if not 1,000 audition or headshot submissions per month from actors who want representation. And they can only sign like 1% or 2% of the actors that submit and want to be represented by them. So if you want to be in the 1% or 2% of the people who get signed, you really have to stand out. And this is how I got my audition for Black Widow. The big reason behind that is that I put in a lot of work over a lot of years to get to the point where I was able to do that. And then finally, another question that came up a lot was, did you get to meet Scarlett Johansson? And yes, I did. I got to meet her on one of the scenes that we shot in London. Unfortunately, that scene got cut from the movie, so you don't get a chance to see it. But the answer is yes, I did get to meet Scarlett on set, very briefly though. Alright, that is the end of this video. I think I just wanted to answer a few of these questions that came up a lot in the other 2 videos. Hopefully I won't have a long hiatus in between videos again. I'll start posting these videos regularly every week. But until next time, keep practicing, keep learning, and I hope to see you on set one day.